Hi, this is Lisa Guthrie. I'm at 505 Northeast 70th Street, Seattle, Washington, 98115. I had a terrible time charging my devices in this apartment. I'm sick, and there are kidnapping attempts and a lot of assault attempts, and the bums are crawling up from an area of the green areas. Note, I have nothing in my apartment for a reason. So that by there is a closet, and everybody's on heroin, plus they're zombies. They're on heroin and other drugs. I'm sick with a cold, and you might hear weird noises. Somebody actually did on Periscope, and they called the police because they thought it was me, and then I popped up. And, you know, it was listed as a security cam. So what am I doing now? I think I'm going to put on a traffic cam, even if it's... and there's not as much battery on this one, so it might not even stay on, so I might have to go back down to all Alfred. One phone didn't charge all night near me, and it's usually my phone. You can tell I'm sick and baggy. But there was also, I want you to know about the terrorists in these buildings. There is a retarded, they're all retarded. They're all psycho zombies. One of the retarded zombies that hangs out in the building was talking about spreading tuberculosis. That was his latest boast. So, yeah, obviously, if I have a sniffle or something and I think it's not a regular cold, I might just go in. And if they say, well, if I end up with tuberculosis, and they say, well, how'd you do it? I'll say, well, you know, they were, there's a guy that comes to this building named Roger. He connects with Burt Gilman Place Apartments, and he was bragging about spreading it. Oops, it looks like, look, there's no camera. It might be stuck on camera for Alfred. And these are morons, and basically your fate is in the hands of morons. I'm not white, but they targeted white-looking Semites and warm-skinned Europeans for years. I believe an 80-year war of cowardice was committed. These are all cowards. They're Satanist morons. I'm going to try to get out of here. Why? Well, the air, even if I'm sick, it's better for me. It's actually how I got sick. I'm probably the only non-cannibal, non-Satanist zombie in Washington. And it smelled like rotted corpse being cooked. And then it sort of, my throat felt prickly, and I also woke up because I had the windows open because it stinks in here usually because zombies smell bad. I also start sneezing. There's usually a smell of blood. There's usually animals crying. This is called Green Lake Plaza Apartments. It's by I-5. I don't want to turn the phone around. I'm having trouble also with chargers and one phone. It's sort of like, oh yeah, all the phones decided to go. It's the end of the month. We're just going to go. Or not end of the month, but it's like, oh yeah, past the middle. We're going. You won't charge us. So I was looking for a phone sale last month, and I'll probably get a 2-for-1 of cheap ones next month, and then, you know, with the insurance. So I had held off because my favorite phone wasn't on sale. This is not working on YouTube, so what will I do? I could restart it. It might be just robbed by Alfred or another application where they, you know, they take it. And so that's a hot spot. That's a closet, and believe it or not, bums crawl up from a green area, and they also hang out in the bedroom, alongside of also where there's no windows, but it faces I-5. That's a big hot spot. But this big hot spot, and then I know about zombie entrances, and remember, they weren't always zombie. I believe they went to zombie 14 years ago. So 14 years ago, they were evil satanic gang members. People that were killing people and taking their identity is what I believe. I'm just watching somebody. It's been really cold, and yesterday I was out. I didn't have a place to sit. I live like I'm homeless, so I was sitting at Fred Meyer to avoid the smells of the building and hearing satanic chanting and smelling you know, blood and whatever all day. And so I was out. It was cold. And I just looked. Somebody had snow on their car. Maybe they came from north, like higher north elevation. So I might just have Alfred on. And then, like I said, one is, oh yeah, it's fighting with Alfred. Hi, Alfred. Oh, and one of the freaks that decided he would kidnap me, his name, well, I don't know his name, but he's a meth head who comes here, and he has a Jayco trailer, and he's a large meth head with blonde curly hair. It looks like it's bleached, and he got drawn complexion. I can't talk the whole time because I've got a cold, obviously, so I'm going to spare myself and just start to get ready. And he has what appear to be light eyes, and he's not good looking. He looks like, and he sounds like he needs teeth. And he parks near Swedish at about 70th and Roosevelt, 71st and Roosevelt. And he connects with Roosevelt Self-Storage. I think Peter is here from Roosevelt Self-Storage. Oh, great. Now, you know what this one means. Having trouble with the devices, and I'm knocking them down. So you get Mr. Joyko in trouble with the cops. Nice SWAT team action. Come on, don't So I'm fiddling around with the charger, and it's driving me crazy because I have a cold. It's like, it's the phone, or it's like, because I bought charger after charger, it's like, oops, it's a C-class. And nothing is lasting, and I just bought a cell candy. And they're getting more and more strict about returns, and you have to tilt it to use it. It's like, it's acting like, oh yeah, it's an old one that you've pulled out of your bag. I just bought it. Usually, they give, maybe it's not the phone, but usually it gives me a couple, oops, and see, this is just falling down. If I had something to prop it with, that would be good. Oh, please do. There. So see me fiddling with that. This is Lisa Guthrie, 505 Northeast 70th Street, Seattle, Washington, 98115. I apologize, I was knocking down phones. I don't keep anything in this apartment, quite frankly, including furniture. It's not worth it because it's a crime-ridden building. Oh, and I just closed that one. Ugh. Sick. Screwing up, too. But I don't keep anything in this build, you know, of value. There's like a third-hand TV, and that's even too good for this place. And all night, people were making slavery and rape threats, and these are sick, obsessed zombies. And the way they make the threats, you'll see that there's nobody in Washington left. And, you know, a few people acting up all night, it's just going to show you that they're all gone. Because they are. They are all gone. There's nobody here. Well, I didn't eat much last night. I mean, I might eat breakfast. And one of them is chanting, believe it or not, he is up there and is chanting so cool. Sorry for blowing my nose on cam. So let's discuss who's here. Remember, I don't keep anything in this apartment. The shopping cart's too good for it. And I've been driven out of house and home for 14 years. And you can basically say it's because I looked white. And it is. And it also is, it's people who were involved. I believe they made an alliance with Satan, but I believe they were making people disappear for years. And I haven't even combed my hair yet. This is real. Real ugly. And I'm ugly anyway because they've scarred me with glass. Who? Gang members here that target white Semites and warm-skinned Europeans and white-looking. They'll put glass all over you. Or all over your possessions. It's like, oh, you've got some open paper towel on the bus. Perfect. Hood out. And all over my storage for the last couple years. Roosevelt self-storage. I always talk about storage because storage is important because indigents can then live there. You know, and it's they can actually take your identity. Or not necessarily indigents, just people who want your identity. So this is going to be a traffic cam until, you know, the battery runs out. And the reason why I have traffic cam is because usually when there's a kidnapping threat in this building, which is very common, sorry about the smuts on the window, when there's, I should wash at least that. They were supposed to wash the windows a few months ago, and then I couldn't get the screens back in. A couple of them. And I've been threatened by the gang members that they'd break in, by the way. Yes, I am sick, so I'm not going to talk too much. The goal would be to get out. The goal would be to clean myself a bit, get out, drink breakfast first so I don't have a blood sugar low, not listen to anybody who's going to ambush me in the hall, including a woman who's now a crazed lunatic, Kathleen Toomey, and her, you know, her family member, her husband, Sean Toomey, or Taya Toomey, or Ellie Toomey, or Melissa Udd, or any of those. Larry Blackmer, Michael Wood, Michael Tudhope, and usually, by the way, there are also about, well, the other day, allegedly, we had three bad cops and this old ex-sheriff or practicing sheriff. He looks like a druggie, and it's very typical of Washington. The dirty zombie cops, they went right in with everybody else. And so they'll sit by a prostitute, maybe a bus driver, a postman, and also they do worse than sit by, but they'll torture and butcher people and do other crimes, and then they act like they're all police coming to kick in your door. And last night, I wouldn't go off to a kidnapping attempt, and one of the whores in the building actually was so confident. It was in the morning, I think. It might have been Carla Logston. That's her old name. But she actually stated, I'm going to call 911. And I said, thank you, you're going to help me, because I'm going to get it on YouTube, and I'm going to show how people, I need to get that on YouTube. It's like someone calling 911 so they can enslave you, rape you, or torture you. So since I've been here, there have been threats to mutilate me in the "you're going to" format. You're going to have a baby, pants down, various rape scenarios. Also, these things are satanic. They like to play with bodily fluids, including blood of their victims, including to splash blood on a victim or other substances. And they are... they're just gone. They're mindless. Another person who's here, Kathy Cox. There is a moronic black Nazi, and he's from Aurora, DSC, floor 2, near the laundry. And remember, I'm not white, but I should be able to say whatever I want, and I want whites and white-looking to say whatever they want. It's only fair. If blacks and others could say whatever they want, why can't you? It's not fair. Remember, I'm probably an eighth black and some Native American. I was targeted, though. I have green eyes. They're mostly dark from all the things I've heard. So they used to be kind of, they'd show pretty blue-green. They're full of darkness because of all the threats and all the trauma, and then hearing taunts and hearing cries of animals. Now I don't care about zombies at all, and I won't drip a tear. I'm not going to drip a tear. because they've been zombies for 14 years. And a lot of people that you hear about that the zombies will lure in, they lure them in to do crimes, and then they'll taunt you that they killed someone. It's like, well, I didn't do it, and also it's another zombie. But the bad thing is that it's illegal. They're committing a crime, obviously, because you're not supposed to kill people, you're not supposed to torture people. You're also not supposed to assume their identity and rob them. But sometimes it's generation after generations of victim stuff is what's happening in Washington. So now it's like it might be a white-looking person and their family, but perhaps because you don't know who anybody is, they've assumed identity. They might work, they might have bought their own house, maybe not. So you don't even know, like the banks, who would they be protecting? I think what I might do is arm the alarm, and then I'm going to turn the alarm around. I don't need to eat and drink on cam. But remember, I have to live like I'm homeless, because if I don't, what? If I don't live like I'm homeless, well, then I set myself up, and I apologize for the rip. I had to have clean pants. And my sister also reduced me to this, and she is significant. She was in on all of the decimation as well. There is something I might tell you. I'm feeling a little dizzy, and I don't know if I can make it. And this is the very worst place to stay. And what am I going to get out to? And this is the day I would face. So I stay here. People try to break in every few minutes. And you're going to hear the alarm go on. And Sunday is significant to them. Why? They are Satanists. So they even will chant and get you on a Sunday. And what they were frantic about this Friday is getting me on Thursday or Friday, and then they hope to get you so they can consecrate you and rape you on a Sunday or kill you. And they're Satanists, so they like to defile the Lord's day. So my dreary day will be where I roll my suitcase, and I would be going to maybe the storage, and I'd sit there in unhealthy air again, and it would be dank. It would be dank, and it would be horrific. There's a bum chanting about bills. Now, there is no bills with these retarders. And for 14 years, I've been chanted at and threatened for bills, and they'll separate their Corey, and we're all acting like cult-like freaks. And there is no bill, and even like 911 operators are freaks and just out of touch with the reality here. So there was a bum chanting, "I want my bed," and he was trying to kick in my door about a week ago, and the 911 operator said, "Is there any way that you owed rent?" And the thing is, that's illegal. And so what it was is like when people try to kick in your door stating they want their rent after you paid your rent, or they want a bed, they literally will kill you for an apartment or a structure in which they can commit crime. So what does a zombie gang member want anyway? They want I always say pleasure, treasure, and leisure. I like to reduce things. They want, I have to blow my nose again, sorry. They want also money, property. They want identity and credit, which is wrapped up. So identity and credit are heavily wrapped up together. They are wrapped up so that people can get what just keeps producing. So whatever keeps producing for someone. So what would keep producing? Somebody with Social Security and some big fat slob like my sister Dawn Blackmer and her ugly husband. And by the way, I will tell you, if you hear anybody, the retardos hide in 207 and threaten me all day too. And there's usually an ambush plot from 207. So there's at least 3 mentally ill, along with the freak who lives there, and there's, according to the boast, and you can hear it too, there are trap doors that go up and down. There's trap doors. There's a whore chanting, "Killing Lisa." Now, where do I hear that? I hear, and actually Periscope people heard that as well. I'm on I-5 almost, but you can hear I-5, of course. But you can also hear the morons that sit and yap and hide. It's a green area of the building, I always call it. This is like a sage green building, and these are dark green buildings. There's a bum playing Bill. These bums have this different sense of reality than you do, and to the point where they're going to try to charge you even for the invisible world. They're just out of it. And they were demanding, quote, chunks of my flesh earlier and cut you just a little bit, cut you here, cut you there. One of them might have been a friend of a big fat ass alleged psychic, Chantel Valentine Lavore, Samantha. Now, those are important people to note. Why? Well, they're in a movement that promoted that it was ghosts and aliens carrying off people and killing them and making them disappear. They also brag or blame the government. It's not. So they're in on cover-ups. So remember when you go to a UFO museum or something and they're talking about disinformation and U.S. government making people disappear and setting up death camps. Actually, it was black Nazis, and oh, did you hear that? That is, I'm going to turn this around, and that is a person reaching through the closet. Like people that think it's ghosts. One of them is an ugly fat man from Aurora, DSC. He's got a beard, he's black haired, he's got kind of a medium tan. He's an ugly man, he wore shorts a lot. But see, that's the thing with the boogeyman, and I keep teaching that. The boogeyman doesn't realize how ugly they are. So they're very confident about dragging people off. So it's bad to stay here. It's gotten, now these people, these boogeymen, they like to wander around in walls, basically. They like to use, walls. They'll use basements. It's a network. So one of the boogeymen is he's that ugly male. Another one is an ugly, retarded male from Wallingford Food Bank. He's black. He looks like his face is like wrinkled and acne scarred or something. That's significant, and I'll tell you why. He's ugly. He's probably 5'11". He's actually acted like Pennywise trying to drag me off. A lot of people treat me like I'm a kid, and they think I'm a kid. That ugly thing had a child molester look in its eye, and it tried to drag me off near the YMCA, and I kept yelling, "Go away, you're ugly." And by the way, there is a vehicle that's always here when there's trouble. It looks like a minivan station wagon. It's got weird foil tape. It looks like tape now because it's sort of horizontal. And it's teal blue. Hopefully you got its license plate on one of them. And that vehicle always is driving by when there's trouble. And there's not one woman who would be normal and go through a closet with some ugly freaks on crack that are Satanists. These are all cracked out lunatics. And nobody wants one of them. Kathleen Toomey, she's an estranged relative. And they're playing, you're gonna blah, 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 events marks. They're obsessed with carving up people, marking them, destroying their faces. I have glass scars on me. Then they'll follow you around playing, you injected your face. They actually, when they break in, remember they pass themselves off as ghosts and aliens, they'll actually look for an old scar, including a glass scar or an open pore, a mole. They'll inject your face. I've never used heroin. I used to smoke pot. I don't drink, and I haven't for 7 years. There's no reason to, because you know it alters reality. What is it? You're gonna wake up and oh yeah, you had 3 drinks by yourself with who? Some zombies maybe, and then you know maybe you couldn't fight off an attack in the night, and they blamed alcohol. One of the bums was trying to say you're gonna have some beers with so and so. I don't even drink. A whore is chanting you're gonna open, but that clicking noise. I was right here talking to you, and they are trying to get in. What they want is a victim willingly coming to them. The victim willingly lets them do something. Then they think they look innocent. And remember, they're all gross freaks. For about 18 years. And Al, there's a bum playing, you're going to submit to my medicine. And it's a dirty bum. And they act like they can beat you. They act like they can rape you. And remember, so what's going to happen if I stay here because I don't feel good? There's going to be fuckers trying to break into the closet or the front door all day long. Excuse my language. And there's a whore yapping cheated on them. These are ugly dog men. Nobody wants them. The first thing the ugly dog man in Washington tries to do is play relationship. If you saw this ugly black guy, he's got zit scars and wrinkles. He has nothing to offer anybody, just like the rest of Washington. He gets a food bag at Wallingford. There's a good old boys network here. It's like if somebody said you were a prostitute after they raped you, you're the prostitute. They'll follow you around for 14 years telling people you're a prostitute. Ugly fucking slobs that nobody would want. There is no cheating. And also, you have to realize everybody is retarded in Washington. Like I've heard people say, how'd she get those glass marks? Oh, she cheated on her boyfriend. Hello? I didn't have a boyfriend, but if I had one and he threw glass on me, hello? See, these ugly bums have catered to black Nazis and other freaks that got rid of white Semites and warm-skinned Europeans. And yes, whites did it too. Why would they do that? Well, they were looking for money, property, credit, and they felt they could be elite. Remember, these are ugly freaks. And my stepsister, she looks white. She's not. That's significant, just like I'm not. So you get a lot of secret black Nazis. Turns out my oh, what's that? Oh, see, you can see, oh, that's actually, that's toothpaste. I seem to be getting toothpaste on me all the time, this green toothpaste. But it's like you go out and nobody tells you, but it's okay, you know why? Because everybody's an ugly zombie that you wouldn't want to impress anyway, so who cares? There's nobody, I mean, he's ugly, they're all ugly creeps, and the first thing the ugly creeps do, and Kathleen Toomey is chanting about pants down. So these are rapist morons. And personally, I don't even care about the green on my face. Why? I mean, that's how bad it is here. I don't even care. And I can smell that cooked, rotten flesh, and I have to sit here, I'm sick, and I'll have to smell it all day. But I don't feel very good to drag my suitcase and act like I'm homeless and then sit in the dank storage. And it's gotten so dangerous at the Roosevelt self-storage where lately there will be assault threats, and it's like also, do you really want to leave your phone charging? Because I have to rely on phone charging. Do you want to leave your phone where it can get kind of stolen and you have to check on it periodically? And so someone could be at, oh, and there's a whore, yapping claimed. Now, that electricity, quite frankly, isn't very good. But my other phone certainly did not charge up. I did keep Alfred on in that area. They're not as afraid of Alfred because these zombie things have gotten away with everything for so many years openly, such as dragging people off. You'll see blood at the bus stop. I don't have a good feeling about a blind cane that I saw at the bus stop, but I've seen walkers at the bus stop, purses, like 3 things: walker, purse, and something else. It's like it looked like a scenario where they dragged someone off. I just videotaped and walked on, you know. What, I mean, I'm not an agency, I'm not a professional. And yeah, I can smell rotten flesh. And they like to play with rotten flesh, and they think they're magical. You can actually hear these bums playing with bone. There's usually a bad cop on duty. He actually looks like a corpse. He's from the North Precinct, and he's gotten away with a lot of hiding and skulking around, and he'll have his buddies that are lunatics on crack, and he'll pretend they're cop. Yesterday, he was, it was like yesterday morning, he was high and drunk, and he was yelling, "Mine are all cops." And you'll hear hallucinations. And remember, Charlotte Lefevre and Philip Lipson of the Seattle Museum of Mysteries, they like to pretend all this sneaking around and people disappearing. Oh, it's aliens. They're also terrorists. They're in on plagues. So remember, on Traffic Cam, I also have the other cam up. People on Periscope, a lot of them were in Washington, and quite frankly, there's not many intelligent people left. They couldn't seem to get the concept of somebody talking on Periscope with, like, oh, it's in the other room, but you're talking, what's happening? And then, like I said, one guy called the police. One guy called the police because he heard what he thought was me. And then I would see room trolls, like a guy, I saw his little profile picture, and then I saw the same guy talking to the most psychotic guy in the building. Yet another ugly man, and these ugly freaks have played this good old boys network, and you're gonna do what they want. And some of the worst rapists, though, are the ones that are female that are in with them. Yeah, I just don't feel like going. Bad either way. I don't even feel like eating. Maybe later. So I might lie down. And then note, there will probably be some sort of attempt. But also, if you have, like, if you're dizzy, and there's usually a kidnapping threat, like, they like to play driveway, they like to try to play kidnapping, and I used to get a lot of kidnapping attempts and threats in the driveway area, but also out by the garbage. I take the exit out by the garbage. Ironically, that's the scene of a lot of slavery. That's also where people get into these areas of the building. So, but there have been people who have tried to detain me, including females. There was one female, it looked like she was cleaning up one day, and she's a black Nazi, and she was telling me I wasn't going to leave. And I got her, and she's a pretty stocky woman. So you get the opinion from you know, just sort of looking at that woman, that she had detained a lot of people illegally, and it's like, she had, like, red hair, reddish dyed hair. I don't know if she was someone who worked here or just somebody who comes here. I think she's one of the janitors. And these bums will try to have you as a janitor for people. You can even go outside and people will follow you. Like I go to the lake and there could be a prostitute telling me I'm going to be a janitor. And she's marching around confidently. And she's not pretty. But she feels very pretty, and it goes with the Satanism, and it also, unfortunately, goes with the fact that they kill people and they don't have competition. So, like your ugly boogeymen and boogie women, they all think they're pretty. I should pray. I feel bad. I'm blowing my nose and I'm praying. I should leave it more. I found it going. Those are trespass against us. We just want temptation to others and please come forward. Kathy Toomey is talking like she's professional. These bums that are Satanists, they like to play with blood. She's talking about giving units. And last night they were demanding blood, and yesterday. And they'll stand, you'll hear these freaks and maybe even see them carved through a closet. And they're going to pretend they're nurses and doctors, and guess what? They'll actually, we have dirty nurses, flunked out nurses, dirty doctors, flunked out doctors with no jurisdiction that come to the building. It's been a part of the genocide, just like Hitler. And so you've got Eric Andre Kinzel's mother, Susan Kinzel Bossert. She's a retired nurse, no jurisdiction. And one of the things is chanting fleshly. You just don't listen to them. They're all psychotic. They'll try to tell you they're Jesus or God. You just don't listen. I mean, they're going to go off into a tangent about they think they own a continent. You don't want to listen. You don't argue. You just call 911. They're things now. Even if you don't think they're zombies, but they're on drugs, they're acting like that, and you see you know, various signs like this. They look like they're in a fugue state, some of them, and you can't see their iris or their pupil. You can't tell which is which. They chant repetitively and mindlessly. They will mutter things that they don't want other people to hear. They look like they're confiding in you, and they might bend down and say the word dachshund, and that's after 50. Other people, including on the bus, may have said something bizarre that seems like gibberish. No, it's a threat of some sort, not always gibberish. But ironically, they're psychotic, but they've been treated like they aren't. I have a headache, that's why I'm lying back down. So you might hear me put curses on the zombies, and or mutter a prayer, but you know, I tell you what's going on too. But if you see my mouth moving or my hands even, if you can picture trying to withstand this, and so I, you know, might twitch my hands or something and grit my teeth. There's a bum chanting about husband and laundry bill. So remember, these ugly retards have thrived also. They think they're magical too if they call themselves husband and boyfriend and pretend that they're husbands and boyfriends when they're not. It actually hid that people were dragging people off. And some of these retarded bums actually have falsified, well, they have done illegal marriages through the, like the courthouse. One of the morons is chanting about invincibility. So there's a big, well, I felt this inferior feeling about Washington. It turns out it was, and I felt this creepiness about it always. Turns out they were killing people that were white-looking, semi-warm-skinned European. I really felt this sort of racism in the 90s directed, where people were getting to the point where they almost felt like they could carry you off because you were white or white-looking. So, I hadn't lived in Seattle by myself before then. So maybe that was it. So it was always there. It was always dangerous. But it got worse in the 90s. So. And I'm hearing a moron chant about documenting. These things will even come after you, and it shows how retarded they are. Like, oh, I've got a deed to cut your face. That's what one black guy told me on Lake City Way. He's got a deed to cut your face. I'll let you know that in Washington, people like to pretend they have jurisdiction when they don't. And so a lot of the retards will, when they hear a siren, which just went by, they actually will galvanize themselves and start a kidnapping attempt and even kicking down a door. It's the police. And they'll pretend that they legally can kidnap you. Oh, there's a bum talking about tranking me. It's judging about tranking. And they're playing something about, well, they mentioned a female part of the body. And they'll also threaten you with illegal operations that morons would commit on you, such as cutting you for FGM, cutting your finger off. They keep playing episiotomy over and over. Episiotomy, they're referring to FGM, but it's also just to, like, they want to prove that they can torture you. And that's, a lot of chanting has been done in this building. And there was a bus driver yesterday. He obviously connects. He was a black Nazi, and he was talking about episiotomy all of a sudden. The bus drivers have been in on making 31 million people in 20 years disappear. There's a bum thinking if he smacks me, I'm just going to do what he wants. He's an ugly, fat Indian male, and he was talking about mutilating the female part of the body. He's an ugly, ugly, ugly thing. He looks like a slug. And his wife or companion looked like a slug. They ride the 67. They also hide out at Roosevelt Self-Storage. And also they've come up in that crawl space to threaten. I don't want to blow my nose like him. It's gross. I'm trying to hide. I'm hiding. I'm hiding with my back. I apologize about the noise. It's gross. I don't have the energy to get up and down now. I am sick. I already have asthma, allergies, chemical sensitivities, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. My heart's bad now. My arm was almost broken by a dirty cop. Could have been, all, you know, or he tried to break it. And that was because I wouldn't be a prostitute and make meth. And these things chant obsessively all day long, and I'm going to have to hear it, and I smell the dead flesh now with the clicking. The chanting alone, it's a sickening, mindless retardation, and the "you're gonna do this." Oh, there's the ugly Indian guy is playing, he's chanting about fold towels at my hotel. So what these bums will also do, they'll literally kill you for a structure, and then they'll play hotel, where all the retards that are hiding in the building are going to use you as a slave in your own apartment that you've paid for. And one of the things they love doing too is terrorizing whites, white-looking Semites and warm-skinned Europeans away from the structure right after they've paid rent. And when you see how arrogant these ugly things are, you won't be able to believe it. Oh, and one of them played picky for a family member. And remember, he's not a family member, he's a kidnapper. And the ugly children of zombies, I've seen it over and over, they're even involved in carrying people off and playing family member when they grab someone. So the children are already gone, they're cannibals and Satanists already, and they've drunk blood, they're already beyond reprieve. They're repulsive, they're freaks. There is nobody in Washington you would like. You wouldn't want them either. Just like I don't want anyone. And they thought they could hide all of this activity, and you know, everything looks normal. But I believe that's why some of your larger companies are having trouble that are connected with Washington. Oh, and this ugly, retarded guy, it's Indian. I heard him talking like he was very sensible. You know how you've heard people giving a spin on things? Whoever he was talking to, he stated, well, I had to hit her in the head. Well, Lisa is such a Nazi. I just, you know, all I was doing is asking her. So these zombie freaks, you can't believe anything that comes out of Washington, including dating, relationships, or anything else. You just don't know what it is. And do you see the story of, oh, I just was asking her out. What is the hitting on the head refer to? Remember Charlotte Lefevre and Philip Libson and the Museum of Mysteries people will tell you that they're ghosts and aliens. It's fallen to gangs. Well, it refers to breaking into your house or apartment is another way they'll break in. It's not just through trap doors and walls. But they might have a key. A victim might have a key out tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times, and then you might feel a pinprick, or maybe not. And so what they do is beat you in your sleep, rape you. They might purposely have somebody rape you that has AIDS or some other disease. They might actually, like Dr. Jaffe, he's a crack moron who comes here. He has no jurisdiction. And a chiropractor and, you know, ex-nurses, flunked out nurses from 79. Well, they teach the gang members where to stick somebody with a pin or a needle or hit them in their sleep so that they would be blind, deaf, and brain damaged. I've actually had gang members brag to me about headaches and how they had stabbed me with a pin or a needle in the brain. All of these bums connect to that. So if you are even a kid in a gang, you're a child molester here, you're a murderer, rapist, torturer, you're a cannibal, you're a zombie, you're a vampire, fetish person. There was one whore that was telling me I was going to let her vampire suck on me, kind of thing. This is very common. Her quote, vampires. There's another thing, chanting about a baby. They actually will try to impregnate you. And they want to play consecrate and molesting. They think they're going to be so magical. And I don't see why they would think they'd be magical with a half Mongolian baby. Because there's nobody smart in Washington, so it'd be half Mongolian. And yes, I don't do politically correct in Washington. They're all one big evil hen. And remember, the boogeymen don't realize they're Mongoloids. I can hear people chanting. And he's saying, goes back to Petrarch. You don't know what kind of gibberish they're chanting, you just don't listen to them. There's nothing we can say that's going to be of any importance. They'll fabricate just about anything. They'll even try to fabricate the past. A lot of these morons will also pretend they're Illuminati. That's a big one where people pretend they're Illuminati. What is it now? It's fallen to the gangs. Retards. People killing people and getting their money. It's a huge, vast conspiracy, but I'm telling the truth. Also, what they'd like to do is debilitate you and have, like, even people in the gang that were your brother, you've been estranged from for 30 years or 20 years. Oh, it's your brother, he's your new best friend pushing around in the wheelchair. He's so devout. He's devoted to you. What's that about? Oh, well, they wanted your apartment, and they wanted your money. They wanted your storage. But if they poke you with a needle in the head, they might have a chance of looking like a good brother again. Also, they're in on the illegal organs trade. So a lot of this falsified relationship, and there is no relationship with me. They can take your kidney more easily. And interestingly enough, the bums have been threatening me for a while for kidneys. It seems that my half-brother, Michael Tadhope, who's in the gang, is playing kidney pool. Trading a kidney for a kidney. And he was going to pretend that I was his girlfriend, offering up a kidney for him. Michael Tadhope. Tadhope Construction. Lake Forest Park. He's listed one of his residences as in New Mexico. His son's name is Ryan. The dirty cops have a symbiotic relationship with the gangs. They're running them. But they also have a symbiotic relationship with people of color. What's that symbiotic relationship? Well, they can scream racism about you if you tell them. And some of these racists actually, as they're telling me they're going to cut the word Nazi in my cheek, can you imagine? Well, they're screaming racism as they're threatening to rape me. And, you know, they've broken in maybe and raped you in your sleep. They're saying you're a racist. That's a symbiotic relationship with the cops. I'm hiding. You're a terrible nose blowing noise. It's not a monster. But I have to disarm the alarm. Most people say. It's been money. I'll spend it on this. Oh, and there's a bum playing your game here, and it's a retardo. And remember how illegal it is to force somebody to get married. It's a dirty bum, and there could always be a propensity for violence, someone kicking the door in, someone ambushing me when I'm outside. And the threats are coming from 207. And 207 is a big hangout. That's also how they besieged innocent people or, other zombies, but by constantly having people next to them or around them that would either come from even the ceiling or the wall or underneath or next door. So I'm going to put my Vicks on. You know what I'm not doing on camera. And this is a bum, and he's talking about the wall in 207. So, there's a bum in 207 making threats! He's also threatening the neighborhood! He's made a lot of home invasion threats! Now, I'll tell you, they've tried to kill me for this window. Why? And I apologize for the Vicks everywhere. Because you can call for help. Now, the thing is with cannibal zombie gang members, whatever you want to call them, even if you just want to call them freaked out drug addict gang members, they are competitors, some of them. Now, you get a lot of collusion, so it's paradoxical, or actually very contradictory, very convoluted, actually. It's convoluted. But you will also get people, it's like, what? That's a crypt? There's 3 crypts in 207! 3 of them are crypts in 207, by the way! And it's an ugly moron, as usual, threatening marriage. And remember, these are ugly, dog but ugly males. It's guaranteed to be ugly as sin. In another game that I've detailed, the retards will also pull people out of the hat from, oh, it's your boyfriend from 30 years ago. He's come to get you. He's coming to get you. You're going to go off with him. I should wash my hands better. I'm going to have some fruit. And one of them is playing Johnny. There's a Johnny game, and I figured it out. There was this guy, again, I knew him, I keep saying 30 years ago, but it's like Port Orchard. I'm 54, so 20, maybe almost 30 years ago. So it's like roughly 30 years ago. So you'll have to forgive me if things aren't accurate. I did throw away a lot of my paperwork, which was stupidity to have in a storage. Why? Why do you need resumes from when you were in high school so people can grab your identity? And so these bums are playing a Johnny game. Johnny. And who is Johnny? And I figured out the game, and it's not what you think. What was the Johnny game? Well, they were killing someone. They tell me it was Johnny, and oh yeah, they tortured him, and went on and on and on. And it was a boyfriend from 30 years ago, and I felt really kind of bad. And I think the gang members were also mentioning Johnny so I would feel paranoid, like, because the gang members will play this game with the dirty cops until someone finally cracks and goes crazy and then starts committing gang crimes for them. Why? Because you're being blackmailed. Like pretending you killed Johnny. I'm down at 68% of battery. Down here, have to check the other one. So there's some boogeymen and women hiding here. I'll let you know my LG phone was never charged up. We'll take it out of its case and see what happens. Which, you crack it when it's out of its case. But sometimes it's the case that won't allow you to charge it all the time. Now, I put it on, so it's the LG that I use every day. It's not charging. And you're going to hear me talk about psychic attacks. And it looks like one of the stupid, nothing wrong with that. It looks like one of the, one is chanting, and it's mechanical sounding. These are retardos. There's nothing left. It looks like one of these batteries may not have charged. And there's a horse still chanting about towels. And remember, I'm a person with asthma, allergies, chemical sensitivities, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. My heart's worse. And these bums like to pretend and portray that everybody owes them. You owe them money. You owe them money. And by the way, I'm going to have something to drink. And I'm going to absolutely have some juice or something, and I'm going to start cleaning up this area. And what is this? I carry my food around like I'm homeless because I don't have anywhere to live. And these are cannibal zombies, so you certainly wouldn't want to put your food and your drink in a refrigerator if you're smart. These are freaks. So I don't even use the refrigerator. Also, there's no electricity. It's reliable. There's no reliable electricity. There's a horse still yapping, and remember, oh, yapping. And one of them's yapping the name of my mother who's been dead 18 years. Now, these retardos like to play a game about the spirit world. And yesterday, there were even creepy gang members that had followed me to Fred Meyer in the Greenwood area. And one of them stated that he was, quote, going to hurt me for Betty. And that's my mother's name. So these people, oh, and he's playing ramped up on vampire. What is the bum playing ramped up on vampire? So more people coming after me to drink my blood. Excuse me, I'm gonna curse. So, it's a moron, thinking he's magical, whether you believe it or not, but also these psychopaths, what they'll do is play, I'm Mr. Magical. So, I'm ramping up on everybody playing vampire. Ooh. So the retarded, ugly guy will then put more propaganda out against the victim so that you will have people coming after you for your blood. And I'm doing sort of a psychic energy activity back, but I do need to pray before I even open my banana or drink anything. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as earth as in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil. That is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever. Amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as earth as in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil. That is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever. Amen. Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as earth as in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. For that is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever. Amen. This bum is chanting that he owns physiognomy. One of them could be that ugly old boogeyman from Wallingford Food Bank. Hideously ugly. But see, hideously ugly doesn't know he's hideously ugly. And part of the reason, now, see, you've got a real mental problem in Washington. So picture people also that kill, rape, or torture people, and they think they're beautiful. They also, remember there's magical thinking involved. They think they're going to be beautiful from hurting people or animals. I'm going to have to do something to that phone over there. I want to listen to the Bible. I'm going to put on, I had to take away some of the battery things I had. Oh, now it's charging. But there's a battery, and I tried all these battery things, and they were driving me crazy. Does it open up? Like I wrote battery dictator. Battery dictator application. Turn this lower. So one of them is not. I'm going to try a super battery charger. I think I can mention them on Google or YouTube. And see, I get this odd electricity problem, and like I'm saying, one of the chargers isn't even charging. And note, I've had the chills, but I have to keep the windows open because of the smells that make me sick. It's typical. It's like, you know, I've had asthma, allergies, chemical sensitivities, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia for years, but I never really had a chance to get well in these buildings. So remember, if I grit my teeth and make a weird hand motion, it's an energy activity. I'm not on drugs. It's something I do. So I'm going to have to charge my phone, and it's going to be long term. So it says I have 2 hours and 36 minutes, and I'm at 14%. At least I know what's going on now. And I'll probably have to take it out. Remember, even if you think I'm crazy and gross because I have nothing in my room, I gave it to Crazy and Gross, gave it to St. Vincent or Goodwill when they thought they were going to be homeless. Crazy and Gross gave it to the American Cancer Society so they could sell it in their store. Crazy and Gross gave it to a church. Crazy and Gross gave a couple things to Elizabeth Gregory Home. Cannibal Agency, nothing to give there. Crazy and Gross gave something else to Wallingford Food Bank and a church. Crazy and Gross hit about 4 places with donations. Oh, Crazy and Gross. I realized, hey, I'm not going to sell this. And I was worried, what if like something that I had picked up years ago even, or recently, if it was, because these people have generations of victim stuff, I didn't want it. So it's like, I don't have a house. Oh, here's a nice dresser. Crazy and Gross put the dresser out. I'd worked on it. I'd actually put some elegant drawer pulls on it that were painted. Very feminine. Nothing feminine now. No reason to decorate now. You're going to decorate for gross retards that would kick in your door. And so you can smell dead bodies all day. Ugh. I think the oranges will make me feel better. I put ginger in my orange juice. I went to mostly like a weird vegetarian. It's partial vegetarian, but I won't eat meat now. Why? Well, cannibal zombies bragged about putting cannibalism in everything. It's hard enough to make sure they don't put it in even water, let alone meat. And the sick thing is about meat, even if it were cat or dog, you can't always tell. All they do, there's 3 ways they can get away with it at least. Stewing it all day with the onions and the carrots. You wouldn't even know what it was. Garlic. And so because your mind, I think it's psychological. Remember, I'm not an expert, but your mind is thinking, oh yeah, it's roast beef with the onions. And another way is to use the juice or fat of another animal, such as bacon or pork. So pork mixed in with what? What else? Pork mixed in with, well, like I said, cooking it in the grease, or just mixing it in. But particular ways of cooking, now that would probably be under 2, maybe under the same heading, like the stewing it, barbecuing it, that'd be another way of cooking it. So that's just ways of cooking it. But then, third way then, if we're going to break it down into categories, spices, herbs, vegetables. And you can't tell. And by the way, these retards here in Washington, they also starved people. And so I've been threatened at grocery stores. And if you ever think that you were monitored or tracked, remember, I'm not even white. So I'm sort of a good test group for you out there that are white, or I've even been targeted as Semite. I've been targeted as Italian. These people are freaks here. So I'm a good test group. Because remember, they targeted warm-complected European. What are 2 of those? 2 of my favorites, by the way. French and Italian. This is like a third world country, but it's also like a third world zombie country. It's like redneck zombie. Not nice to eat on cam, but I'm too lazy to mess with that, and the battery's going down by the minute. So eventually, I'll have to go to Alfred. And remember, these retards, they're going to be very confident if they think you can't videotape them. And why would they not want you to videotape them? Well, part of it is luring people, I believe. They don't want their credibility ruined. And my sister and brother and the others have gotten away with lots of terrible crimes for years. By the way, I hear one of the morons chanting, and sounds like a, giving up your purse for us. And one of them is by Retardo Mary Alice Knotts. And remember, there's no politically correct. And by the way, something interesting about Mary Alice Knotts, I'm going to name something. About 16 years ago, there's a horde talking about giving me pneumonia. Remember, that's how they can wipe people out, if they give you pneumonia. They're in on plagues here. Mary Alice, and then she said, we'll shoot them. I just heard one of the hordes say, we'll shoot them. See, it's a cement building, and you have to realize when people mess around where maybe there used to be insulation, but what is there now? There's room for people to hang out. There's probably, it could even have a bunk bed down there, or a microwave. They could be drawing off of your electricity, by the way. So, Mary Alice Knox, about 16 years ago. Oh, they just killed it. I think they just killed a cat. Or, I think a cat. So, put everybody in Washington in the body of their victims. Curse them. And these bums will stand and sacrifice animals and try to blame you. That's part of the psychological torture. They're Satanists. And then they'll blame you. You did it. And then they have this double thing going on because, remember, their belief system is satanic. So they're going to try to curse you so that the animal hates you with an utter abhorrence, and it'll go after you in the spirit world. Excuse me, I have to curse them. Curse the Satanists. Move the ugly thing into the body of the cat. And let me try to get the cat out. I just heard blood. And so this is also, this is actually, I'm glad I'm allergic to the smell of blood. And I'm not like they are. I'm actually allergic to it. And that's actually a good thing. And you might say, well, why don't you go in the wall and rescue the cat? I've shown on YouTube. I would actually be in trouble for entering the wall. It would be the innocent person in Washington that would be taken away by the cops. I've had to live with this for 14 years, and my apartments, especially if they had a crawl space, I guess, that was large enough, you'd smell a cat musk, even though you didn't have a cat. You didn't smell a cat musk when you got it. They were killing cats. I heard animal cruelty at every apartment building. I don't think that the crawl spaces were large enough in Burt Gilman Place apartments, but I believe. And here's something that can be done. So even if you think I'm crazy, remember people have done it. So, cottage, eaves, I believe somebody got up. I heard somebody, like, upstairs. There was no upstairs, but I had eaves. So I think that some homeless people would crawl up and like wait till it was dark and then just crawl up, and then nobody would even bother them because they're gang members in that neighborhood too. And if anyone did see them, well, remember also who has betrayed innocent people. Military. So, an ugly, creepy guy who wants to slink around in your eaves, in this little, you know, that just where you can't even, maybe you can stand up at the apex, maybe not. But that might have been his sleeping area. I also know that gang members will brag about putting in a basement. So, how would they do that? They would sneak through an area where you don't have a foundation, or maybe it is a sort of foundation, and they hack away or they enter, and remember, I'm not a professional, excuse me, and then they dig out a basement. Of course, most of you would have a foundation, even in a cottage, even a converted garage. So digging out the structure. Also, there's a lot of skullduggery that goes on, that has been against white Semites and warm-skinned Europeans in Washington, such as rerouting, so that you bathe in your sewer, you bathe in your neighbor's sewer, and think about all the stuff that goes there. It's not just sewer. It could be gray water from their dyeing their hair or using liquid plumbing. All those toxins go into you. Oh, there's a bum chanting, Memories by Rachel. So she's trying to affect history the way she wants to do it. Memories by Rachel, she says, and she thinks she's magical, and she's going to affect history. Remember, she's a retard on crack. Oh, I wasn't done telling you about Mary Alice Knox. About 16 years ago, she presented herself as an angry Christian woman who had once been a prostitute, and she was into drinking and pills, perhaps. But she was clean and sober. And she hated drugs, and she wanted to sue Seattle Housing Authority for the constant smells of crack and meth production. Guess where she is now? She's hanging out with people on crack, on meth, and then there's this weird mushroomy metallic smell. I think the mushroomy metallic smell, it smells hot too, like you're cooking. I think they're degrading the pots and pans with the chemical. I think that's part of, like, you're smelling the alloy coming off. Or the metal. Both. So you're smelling the heated metal. Like, I could throw a pan on the stove with nothing in it right now, which I don't have pots and pans for a reason. Why? Well, a lot of these bums would love to posture in a beautifully set up apartment and make you into a slave. So when they kick your door down, it's all ready for them to go. Not gonna do it. I was here about a week, and I realized nothing's coming here of value. So anyway, Mary Alice was anti-drug, anti-drink, and here she is, just cannibal torture zombie thing. But remember, she used to play Christian, and she used to play Get Me Away from the Drugs. And she was so anti-drinking, she used to buy shampoo that was free of alcohol. Here she is, torturing, butchering. She's probably got at least 80 identities. My big fat sister, Dawn Blackmer, she has 800 or more. Larry Blackmer has thousands. It might be more than 800 for Dawn. Oh, and a horse chanting, "Leg cleaner back." Remember, she thinks she's magic. Leg cleaner back. Remember, she's hiding in a crawl space. Leg cleaner, leg clean. Now, part of it is very magical thinking. She thinks she's going to take chakras. They'll also cut out those areas. Leg clean. But they want you to lie down and suffer. Like, one of their plots would be, yes, you'd be raped, you'd be providing housing illegally for, anybody who wanted to come in. You'd be providing a shower. A lot of these retards, they think they're going to just toddle off to work on Mondays and look like normal. Everything is just shams in the state. So, like the weirdos from Elizabeth Gregory home. Also, other people who come here, they might not want to be covered in blood. They'd also have you doing your laundry. Sorry. Lay clean, the horse said. Lay clean. Lay clean. Lay clean. Lay clean. Lay clean. I threw my onion away because it was exposed to the air. Putting it away so nobody sees my nose. Lay clean. Remember, these are free. And then one of the things is arguing with me in the closet. Lay clean. I'm feeling a little better, but I have chills. It's really not the best thing to go out. Not the best thing to stay in. But they've made the cannibal zombie things, they did a deal with Satan 14 years ago. There was nowhere to go. It's like, you can't go here, you can't go there. They played so delightedly. A lot of the people that went in with them, they've killed thousands, hundreds of thousands. Who did they mostly kill? They killed a lot of the, by the way, an Indian male that's hideously ugly has climbed up. He looks like an ugly frog, and Kathy Cox. She is now in that wall. And they're playing you to sit and listen. And remember, these are people with no rights over anything or anyone. And Kathy Cox is an ugly heroin addict that goes to a heroin addict line and picks up meth. That's all she is. That's where my phone is not charging. That's very strange. So remember, Kathy Cox and the others actually have no authority. But this is typical of Washington, where ugly freaks act like they can tell you what to do. Get a lot of these practically king and queen players in the low-income apartments, and they're mentally ill. And they're playing, you will do this, you will do that. Will I do what the horse says? No. This is going to end badly, and she's saying, you're going to clean for me? No, I won't. And she said, you're going to clean for me like a hotel? No, I'm not, bitch. I will not. But and so if you gave in to an ugly whore like that, do you think that that would be good? Do you think anything good would happen? So if you've got an ugly fucking freak in your closet, are you going to go off with an ugly fucking freak that tortures people and animals, and she's a cannibal zombie, and she's retarded and ugly, and she stinks? She's an ugly freak. By the way, her last address was 5100 40th Avenue, Northeast in Washington, 98115 that I knew, or 105. We're at Gilman Place Apartments, and another one of the ugly freaks with her is Michael Benjamin Davis Ward. And he is also an ugly fucking freak. And they're playing Obey, Take Your Panties Down. Remember, it's not about pretty either. It's about demeaning people. It's about enslaving. No, bitch. And one of the ugly fucking freaks is Kathy Toomey. Kathy Toomey is a satanic crip, and she is actually mentally gone. They are all mentally gone. There is nobody in Washington. Shouldn't even have moved this. There is nobody. They're playing blah blah blah, act like my friend. Remember the falsified relationship play. So an ugly dog woman walks off with you because you were told to play her friend, and she is a dog. So remember, Burt Gilman Place Apartments, her daughter Emily might still live up there. And remember, these are ugly freaks that nobody wants, nobody likes. And I know you probably can't hear them talking now because you've got I-5, but believe me, they've been heard on Periscope. And these are ugly freaks. Oh, but there's a whore saying we don't want you to suffer more embarrassment. It's a stinky whore that nobody would be seen with. And that would actually be embarrassing to be seen with a stinky hoe. Any of these stinky hoes, it would cause grave embarrassment. So remember, you're talking to someone who they made ugly, but they're too ugly to be seen with. And these things drove me out of house and home. And according to the police, they don't exist until you threaten them, and then you're mentally ill, and they'll say that you were in the hallway, tried to kill them or threaten them. They don't exist. Even though they set off the alarm, and it's not a ghost. I'm not going to listen to you. You're ugly shit asses. One of them is an ugly slut Her name is Ivana. Well, her mother's name is Ivana Hill. And her name is Alexandra. She's a dog. Excuse me. The ugly dog thing thinks she's pretty. Why? She's killed off her competition. That's why. Oh, and she's got a dog in there whining. Put it in the body of the dog. I mean, it can't hurt to try. Curse back. These things are freaks. And remember, how can you cut down on animal cruelty? And remember, it's not just about Asian people doing this. What are you going to do? How would you cut down on animal cruelty? You could cut down by making it so nobody can breed animals. And nobody wants to be seen with dog woman. You're hideously ugly. So, oh, and they're playing cottage chick. No. I'm not doing it. So Kathy Cox is here and Ivana Hill. They're the boogeymen now. And Alexandra Hill. And there's an ugly black retarded male that had a blue teal blazer in silver. Or another retard. Oh, it might be another retard. Oh, he's there too, but he's ugly. And he and his mother make repeated slave threats. His mother has been referred to as the woman with the bent gait. And they're playing opening, blah, blah, blah. Remember, these are dog people. Nobody's going to open to them. They're all retardos. And remember, a lot of these bums are very arrogant. Why? They made people ugly that were better looking than them. And they targeted people that were talented, pretty, nice, and normal. And they're ugly freaks. Oh, and then the ugly thing is now chanting maintain dog to them. So the whore said, we want you not to suffer any more embarrassment. You know, so these things think they're smart, but you realize they're retarded. A thing in your wall trying to play a psychological game on you is a thing in a wall trying to play a psychological game. She's a retardo. She doesn't even have any education. She didn't graduate from high school. Neither did Michael Benjamin Davis Wood. He flunked out at 14. And one of the ugly black boogeymen from the Wallingford Food Bank, he's arguing he's too ugly to be seen with. You talk about embarrassment. He's so ugly. He's so embarrassed. I'm not listening to morons. And they're cracking bones, and they're playing leaving, you're leaving. Not leaving, and they're playing leaving with you? No, you're too ugly. I wouldn't be seen with any of you. Isn't that ironic? They gang scarred me, and they're too ugly to be seen with. Oh, there's a bum chanting and yapping because they like to pretend this is legal. There's a bum playing testify. Remember, they're psychotic. They'll even pretend you went through court. And, oh, yes, you're supposed to give up your kidney. And, oh, yes, you're supposed to be a slave and leave with so-and-so. No, but I will be calling the police, and perhaps they'll have a SWAT team for you and shoot your ass up. And the ugly, dirty cops lurking, if there are any today, they can go to a mental hospital. There's one dirty cop here. It might be Officer Rob Howard. Officer Rob Howard is probably lurking, from what I hear. Oh, and then he's consecrating an animal that he's killed. He's going to act like a vampire. So military will teach people how to sneak around and go undetected, is what I was starting to say. Like with the cottage situation. Teaching people how to surveil and sneak. Also dirty plants. can't taste the ginger and orange juice, but I put it in there. If I can fish it out and eat some more. Oh, I have some other. I should eat some. shit asses. Kathy Cox is still hanging out. You can imagine anybody in a wall. Now you know that Sean Toomey and Kathy's jobs all these years were scams too. And they're making a rape thread. There's a thick voice retard with her. No. You're going to get a little surprise. And I'm not putting up with bullshit. And if the SWAT team has to come, because you're halfway in and out of the storage, and it's seen on YouTube, hey, that's great. Maybe the SWAT team will come for these fuckers another day and just drag off the whole building and keep everyone here because of you fucking shit-ass morons. And one of them is a shit-ass moron named Roger, a thick-voiced retard, who looks white, with kind of long brown hair. He's fat now, fatter. He's a gross cannibal bitch. Probably 5'10", 6. He is shit. He's actually killed and eaten his girlfriend from his boasts and their boasts. He's a retarded, ugly bitch. Nobody wants you, and you are going to suffer. You come in here, bitch, through the wall, you're done. And I'm going to make sure that these people are shut down. And if it took YouTube to do it, hey, fine. You made people homeless, bitch. So really, there's nobody in housing that needs housing anyway. They killed off and inducted the nice old ladies. So that was Roger and Kathy Toomey setting off the alarm. Oh, shit. Why did I swear? Well, I don't want to break clocks. Long term, I apologize. Not toss. Am I going to listen to this bullshit? No, that's the thing that pops up in my suitcase. So where do you put that? I'm not going to listen. Oh, and they're chanting pants down, and they're playing We Have Every Authority. And one of them is the ugly black male that looks like a jack-o'-lantern moron. Gee, why does he look like a jack-o'-lantern moron? Because he is a jack-o'-lantern moron. He's ugly as sin. And he's so fucked up, he's so ugly, he has to kick down doors and walls to get people so he can rape them. He's actually released shotgun shells and told me he was going to blow off my head for fellatio. Kathy Cox is also lurking! Kathy Cox might also be a crep. Crips unmasked. See, they're rivals. Kathy Cox is possibly a crip. And that ugly fucker, he's a black guy who's about 5'10". Actually, I think he's taller, 6 feet tall. He has an ugly mother that looks very masculine. She has short hair. And when there's a whore playing, you're going to iron. Nope. And these shit asses like to repeat corruptions of words. Sue-teen, sue, sue-teen. You get it, suing? And there's a retardo playing blah, 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 behind a wall. And one of them is Roger the retardo. So you don't need housing in Washington. The innocent old lady is gone. They killed them. They've replaced them. It's now an ugly old zombie that's in the place of the nice old lady. And remember, they killed off whites. White-looking, semi-warm-skinned European. And what they did to people is play paranoid schizophrenic. Oh, and one of them is making a cutting or clipping noise. He might be cutting an animal. Put him in the body of the animal along with his mama. Remember, the animal's way more important than that shit is. These are zombie fucking freaks. There's a bum chanting by the time they find you. Well, could be interesting. There's a bum playing Suture Your Features In. And he's making a threat. One of them is a dirty cop. One of them is the dirty cop. And when they said, as long as they don't see me, and he said, we're going driving. And one of them is an ugly, fruity cop. And he's got blonde hair, and he's a fruit. He's a child molester. Remember, I'm not going to use politically correct. He's a retardo. And when I called 911 and got this retard, you could tell he was retarded. And he yelled at me. That was years ago. He's in with Kathy Cox. He's a retardo. He's playing noiselessly, blah, 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 you're gonna leave. He's your typical boogeyman. He's about 6 feet tall. He's blonde. He's got blue eyes. He's ugly. That's not your recipe for boogeyman, but I'm telling you, he said you're gonna leave quietly. You're gonna do this. He sounds just like a child molester. He is. I even know what kind of child molester and what he does in child molesting. And he's making a threat about orally. He is a rapist. The ugly blonde cop is here making a kidnapping threat. And he said, as long as they don't see me. He's from the North Precinct. And one of them just chanted gallon. What does the gallon mean? He means about blood. He is a Satanist, like they all are. And he said, you're going to be obediently. No, I'm going to get you arrested and committed, ugly bitch. You're an ugly bitch, and you're going to get committed and arrested. The ugly blonde cop is about 6 feet tall. He has a weird voice. He's retarded. Believe it or not, when these things, the cops and the other things, well, they got rid of their competition. was a bum yapping crazily. Lisa's baby. Lisa's baby. They don't have a baby. They like to, for 14 years, they've also followed me around, the gang members, and they've played Lisa's pets, and they've sacrificed animals. Then they'll like to blame you for their crimes. There's a threat of a bomb is chanting, everybody is going to hair lip. And why would they make someone look like a hair lip? And for a while, I kind of looked like I had a hair lip scar with the glass. But my niece and my sister, Dawn Blackburn, Melissa Udd's my niece, my brother Michael Tenhope, they're in on taking people's identity. So if they use some old school method of making you into a hair lip, and then you could be the slave that even does art for them and cleans their house, and they starve you and kick you and torture you, and even, you know, satanically sacrifice you and draw your blood from you. Well, nobody's going to know who you are the other they make you. And there was a horror chanting earlier, you're going to let us make you ugly. This is what I hear every day. Like, uglier. You're going to let us make you uglier. And there's nothing left, including of my relatives. And one of the cousins, her name is Amy. Her name was formerly Hoyt. She's a Port Orchard. Deanna Hoyt is her mother. She always, she slinks around and hides, and she'll say things like, you're going to let me eat a chunk of you. She'll go off in tangents for hours. I've just got to have your fingers. I've just got to have her fingers. I've just got to have gallons of blood. We've just got to have you raped. We've got to have you as a prostitute. And so it's about demeaning and getting rid of and punishing. These are satanic shit-ass morons. There's nothing left. Sorry for blowing my nose. You can blob it out like a pixelated. And so it was a male chanting about making me a hair lip. I think Roger. So they think they're very clever. They'll come up with about 80. They're like plots they've used over and over with the dirty cops, and the dirty cops will help them. So remember, there's a dirty cop here, and it's the ugly blonde freak. So you know the ugly blonde freak. Remember, he's got a speech impediment. There's a link. Just like, I believe, in World War II with the Nazi soldiers, if you look at them, they were ugly and they had anomalies. There's a link with ugly Nazis here that have anomalies. He has a speech impediment and he sounds like a muppet. So if he's making your mouth deformed, that would be why. And my niece, by the way, she looked like a hair lip. That was Melissa. I don't even know, because there were feuds with my mom and I wouldn't see these people anyway. So at a certain point she stopped looking like a hair lip. Maybe they had some sort of operation on her. I don't think it just faded. But she looked like a hair lip well into 10 years old or so. And so this repeated theme of making you look like a hair lip, carving your face off, making you ugly. And my niece will even go into tangents of when I was pretty in my 20s and how I looked with this Johnny person they've talked about over and over. Remember, I'm sick, and I always have been. I believe my sister poisoned me, and I used to have these weird bone aches and burp up. My sister and my mother, I wouldn't burp up them, but I would have these weird bone aches, and like I burped sulfur, and light would be painful to look at, and also to hear anything like clinking. And remember too, as I've grown up, these bums that will do secret home invasions, part of their routine is to poison people. And remember, the ugly blonde cops and the other cops are involved. He's from North Precinct. And so these retarded, they're like retarded rabid jackals that are possessed. They're yapping constantly. There's nothing left of humanity in them. And they absolutely almost think it's legal, or they do think it's legal. They're very psychotic. Like, I heard a child spying on people in the bathroom at Roosevelt Self-Storage after he and his mother, or excuse me, grandmother went out. And the ugly thing said to his granny or somebody, "Now that we're on assignment." So he's already a level 1 rapist. And actually, from what I hear, he's probably level 2 because he's involved in torture. They let these ugly, creepy things become involved in torture at, very early age. And remember, I am sick. Like, and if I'm just looking at my hands, it's a bad camera. You can see the grooves of glass on my hands for over 2 years steadily. There's even been glass in my storage unit. And remember, that's where I get my clothing. I don't leave clean clothes here because it stinks like dead bodies. If you have a heat, a water, or a stove source, they want to be able to cook and process and cook animals and people that they've tortured. And so you'll get even a worse stench sometimes where they have a heat source. Sometimes they'll try to microwave their horrors, but it just stinks wherever you go. It has like any stove. And like at Wallingford Food Bank, and then you've got also, first you have, what you have is Family Works, and then you've got Wallingford Library, Wallingford Food Bank, and then Solid Ground upstairs. those are agencies that cater to black Nazis and other scum that wanted to get rid of white-looking, semi-warm skinned European. So there's also, because they are cannibals and it is a food bank, you can guess what happens. I've also seen people carrying out like garbage bags heavily between two people, a chunk of something, I don't know what it was, but it smelled like blood. And that was the Wallingford security guard. And then there's a bum chanting about madam. What does the word madam mean to these bums? Well, what they'll do is chant repetitively, and they'll chant that you're a madam or doing some kind of crime before you ever do, and then they'll try to abduct you. Because they ruined your reputation, they portrayed you as a madam. What's their version of madam? There's another whore threatening me from my window. Now, why does she not want me to have a window? Because I can then call out and tell what's going on. Oh, and here's an ugly male who's actually followed me to Fred Meyer. They're probably involved in a crime. See that ugly retardo? Like, you wouldn't know how fucking retarded it is when it follows you to Fred Meyer. That's a blood. The other one's a crip. And they're playing admirer. That's what I just heard. They're playing admirer. Oh, that's the ugly psycho who has a mother that has threatened. He will get in the closet with a shotgun and release shells. He will. Oh no, that's a different guy. Sorry, I just put on my glasses. That's a different guy that followed me to Fred Meyer. But that thing has followed me around. That ugly fucker, excuse my language, that looks like a pumpkin. He thinks he's good looking and he could just enslave people and you're not going to notice. Look at that other ugly retard. That's a different retard than the one that followed me. You see that ugly retardo? And they're playing pickup. What's the pickup? It's a kidnapping threat. Let's show you these people on this broadcast. So that ugly black guy has actually released shotgun shells and told me he was going to blow my head off for a fellatio rape. Now the address again, it's 505 Northeast 70th Street, Seattle. So that ugly dog man just made a fellatio rape threat. He said that thing just has to be oral. So he is a confirmed rapist, and nobody would touch that ugly thing. And he forces people. He is an ugly fucker that nobody wants, nobody likes. And his mother is often with him, and he's threatened slavery. He's called up about how he was going to kill me and shoot me. He screamed at me about how he's going to shoot me and shoot the floor down, or not floor, but the door down. And he's also, so he's talking about people coming to kidnap me. So this is 9:52 a.m., Sunday, February 8th. Excuse me, I can't even talk. February 18th. February 18th. And it's 2018. And there's not one woman in the world that would really want him, unless they were a psycho Pennywise with him. So Pennywise, he might actually be a crip hiding as a blood, by the way. So he's working on a kidnapping is what he's doing. And remember, I'm not white and I'm an 8th black, but guess what? Even if I'm not, I don't have to go out with blacks. And nobody has the right to force you to go out with anybody. And look at these ugly things. Look at this ugly thing. Look at that woman. That guy's a crip that's out there, by the way, too. The black guy. He's hiding. He's a crip. That guy's a crip. The tall guy, he's making a kidnapping rape plot with the ugly short thing. And he is a crip. And he's in with my gross family. Now, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to get charge. And I don't have any family. And I found out my sister put hits on me in the 80s. Now, this follows the path of what these people did here. What was it? They decimated anyone pretty nice. They committed a genocide against anyone pretty nice, normal. Shit, sorry. I don't have any furniture, so these fall down. And the ugly black guy is chanting indentured and in a wall tonight. So they'll try to put you in a wall to torture you. So the black guy's making kidnapping and rape threats behind the wall. He is a Crip. So the next time he's on Periscope, he's going to be pointed out as a Crip. There's somebody screaming because I told what he was. And remember, I have no loyalty to any gang members, and whatever happens to them, hey, one way you can legally get rid of these people, you could actually have these things rounded up by people that aren't sympathetic to their gang. So if it's somebody who's not impressed with Bloods that commits them or arrests them, hey. There's a white car going by, and that's often significant. These retardos will pass themselves off as police. And remember, the ugly white cop is in with the gangs. There are probably 13 gangs here today. Why? Because you've got retardos like the ugly ex-security guard that's a boyfriend of Officer Bobby. And by the way, that ugly black guy, he will not hesitate to come through a wall or through the floor. That ugly thing will come through a trap door. He'll kick the wall in. And remember, my statement, which is an oral record, he is too ugly for a gang-scarred woman. And I don't have to be forced to go out with a mongoloid just because the mongoloid is going to scream racism. And he is a mongoloid. He's an ugly thing. He's retarded. And nobody would want him. He's too ugly. So they've made a lot of slave threats for the bums in this building, and also rape threats about them. Like, what they would like to do is hit you, and you're just going to do laundry for them. No, I'm going to get you fuckers arrested and committed is what I'm going to get. You're going to get arrested, you're going to get committed, and I'm going to make sure that that fucker's dragged off and never sees his ugly monkey mother again. You fuckers aren't even human anymore. You're just grossness. And one of the things that's talking like he's an authority, I can hear his voice drifting up. He's a fat ass from Aurora, DSC. He's been diagnosed as retarded. He looks white, and he likes to play with his bodily fluids. He's retarded. Remember that. Ugly retard. Fat. And he has a skull face. Fat. You can't, and a big round head. By the way, there are certain types of ugly that survive the genocide. So yeah, that black guy's a Crip that was out there, and he was making rape and slavery threats and captivity threats within the wall. With the ugly monkey thing that was in red. I don't know if it was white. It looked white, the monkey thing. To me, when they think they're so cool and they're red, they just look like organ grinders monkeys. Retardos. Capering for retardos. Retardos? And one of them's chanting about spread. So yeah, that's been a Crip for a while. He's in 3 gangs, actually. So yeah, the black guy's a Crip, but he's in 3 gangs. And there's a horse saying we may remove the wall. and she's in the front area. And I'm having trouble charging this phone, and the charge is going down, 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 down. And usually I have my other phone, but it wouldn't even charge after 24 hours. It's an electrical, it's a combination. So I'm going to have to turn maybe this one off and lay it flat. I think, and